You guys remember Josh Moronstein from back in the day? My old nemesis from the past. Well, these days, he's running for office, baby. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool that Josh Feuerstein might actually have power one day? A guy that I literally used to make fun of on a regular basis for being the biggest idiot on the face of the fucking earth might actually now gain some real power in life. It's about fucking time, man. I think that's cool. Proudly endorsed by Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General. And there, look at him. I love this picture of him because he looks like a meme to me. Like, I don't often see pictures and think like, I want to make a meme of that. I'm not of the generation that just terminally thinks in memes. Like, younger millennials do that, and, you know, Gen Z does that. I don't know if Gen Alpha does that. But I'm not like a person that's constantly seeing memes everywhere. Oh, it's got to be a meme. It's got to be a meme. But I did take an old meme and combine it with this image to create this masterpiece, which I think is the most appropriate caption for this this picture. It's it says, and it took a long time for me to think of this. This is my own thoughts. Never even heard this before. It says, I farted in my diaper and some poop came out. And as you can see, he's quite serious about it, right? So there you go. But I want to take a look at his website here. Let's take a look. A lot of people have asked me, hey, where do you do your live streams? And the answer to that is that I do live streams called Abandon Hope every Sunday on the Pessimist Productions Patreon. That is linked down below. There is all sorts of other stuff on that Patreon as well. It is about $7 a month, and I think that we offer a pretty generous amount of content in exchange for that membership. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check out the Patreon link in the description section of this video. Let's see, legislative priorities. Number one legislative priority is pro-life. He says, I will always fight for the lives of innocent preborn children. It's our moral duty to stand up for those who can't defend themselves. Too bad he's not pro his own life, you know, because he's certainly not doing himself any favors by eating, 20 cheeseburgers a day. But hey, I guess that's his own decision, right? Number two, gun rights, because that's really compatible with the whole pro-life thing. I'm strongly pro-life, and I'm also strongly the thing that takes life away. While my opponent prohibits the open carry of firearms on his property, I believe every Texan should exercise their right to bear arms. In fact, I propose a substantial monetary reward be given to any Texan who, while in the act of carrying a firearm in public, stops a mass shooting. I mean, this is insanity, by the way. We just did a story. If you guys, I don't know how many of you guys watched the DFF Christmas true crime special we put out, but one of the stories we covered on that was how for a long time the Texas Bankers Association offered a $5,000 reward for any citizen who shot a bank robber. And of course, the result of that was that a bunch of vigilante citizens started, just wantonly firing into, situations where bank robberies were going on, and more often than not, they murdered a bunch of innocent civilians and got a bunch of hostages killed because, turns out a bunch of gun nuts who have been promised $5,000 are not too smart about, being judicious with their targets. So I feel like if you give a cash reward for anyone who stops a mass shooting, you're basically going to end up with a lot of people who are killed in mass shootings, not by the shooter, but by would-be defenders, right? So election reform. While Texas legislators voted to reduce voter fraud penalties from a felony to a misdemeanor, I will propose to increase those penalties. We cannot afford any more stolen elections. Well, we've never had a stolen election. At least we didn't in 2020. So kind of weird that you're continuing down that path. It's kind of weird that that's even able to be a mainstream position in America, but whatever. School choice. Every parent deserves a right to choose what type of school their child will be best educated in. No, the best education is not based on choice. It's not like I will choose what is the best education for my child. The best education for your child is not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of like empirical, it can be empirically demonstrated. This education is superior to that one. So children should be educated in an empirically effective manner. Like, hey, this child knows more, grasps the issues better, and is able to critically think better than this child. And what school choice really means is that they want tax dollars to go to fund religious schools. They want a bunch of kids to learn the earth is flat and, the earth, and it's 6,000 years old, and they want to hear about a talking snake. And that's not a quality education. That's not a matter of opinion that's a shitty education. That just is a shitty education, because that doesn't reflect reality. That doesn't reflect modern science. That doesn't reflect any sort of intelligent or enlightened worldview whatsoever. And so, no, you shouldn't have school choice, you fucking dimwit. Secure the border. I mean, this is just boilerplate Republican bullshit, right? Not only should the border not be secured, it shouldn't even fucking exist. There should be no borders. Borders are just, so many people in this country, if I was to tell them, why do we have all this division in the country? Why do we have all these divisions, one person from another? And they would agree, oh yeah, you're right, there is too much division. It's like, well, what's the biggest division of all? These fucking borders, right? A border that says everyone born on this side is this thing and everyone born on this side is that thing. It's just like geographically enforced tyranny. So fuck that. I want to take a giant eraser and erase every border on Earth and do like a one world government, or a one world no government even, depending on if we can figure that out. But I definitely don't think that there should be nations or nation states or any of that nonsense. I think that's useless to modern day human beings and should be destroyed as soon as possible. End property taxes. Maybe. I don't know. If you can come up with an alternate means of funding the things that property taxes go into, I'm okay with it. Medical freedom. What does that mean? While my opponent was busy setting up vaccination stations, I'm sold on your opponent. I was fighting to help protect the rights of those who are being forced out of their jobs. No one was being forced out of anything. No one's being forced out of their jobs, or their churches, their hospitals, or any of that shit. People made bad decisions. If you choose to not respect medical science, and you choose not to respect basic human decency and be an asshole and go like cough on people intentionally and try to spread disease during a pandemic, then you get no sympathy from me. You can go fuck yourself. I thought it might also be fun to take a look at good old, here we go, Josh Fierstein's Instagram page here. He calls himself a voice for the voiceless. So let's take a look at some of his posts. Here he is holding a comically large gun that I guess is supposed to be a substitute for his comically small penis. I mean, look, as a small penis guy, I get it. There's a lot of stigma attached to having a small dick in America, and it seems a lot of times like even people who are otherwise enlightened will still body shame over having a small dick, and that sucks. But guess what? You're not going to fix that by getting yourself a giant gun or a giant truck. That's not going to solve the problem, okay? You got to actually confront the problem head on. This, I'm going to get a big black substitute dick. It's not working. No one believes it. Like in this image, you don't look virile. That gun is holding you at this point. Here he is celebrating Christmas by having his son burn a book. This is, we got politicians now running for office who are proudly displaying themselves burning books like, yeah, this is going to turn out well. We have learned from history. We truly have. And the way he justifies this is what happens when you order Christmas books only to find the main character is a good witch. Could we have returned it for a refund? Yes, but why? So some other kid can be indoctrinated? No. I mean, I love that he's doing all of this while celebrating a pagan holiday, too. You gotta love it. I mean, even this person points that out. Here's an article from Newsweek about him. He's proud of this article. Pastor who said Christians don't need COVID vaccine challenges Republican. Good for him. I love that he's proud of this framing. Like, yeah, you damn right. Here he is with his dumb family. I don't care. Whatever. We all have families. Most of us don't use them as political props. Yeah, what's this? He's
that really rocked your world, that just seemed like it had you hanging on for dear life? Well, it's interesting because oftentimes we get upset at these seasons. Like, why does God have to let me go through this? But what if I told you that out in Arizona, they created something called the biodome, which was like the perfect atmosphere. And
it starred Pauly Shore.
they're growing these trees and plants, and it's gorgeous. And yet it was that the trees kept falling over, and they could not figure out why. Until they discovered that, yes, in the biodome, while it may be seemingly the perfect environment, and where there are no storms, there's also no wind. And do you know that a tree needs wind in order to grow roots? Yeah, the more wind that it faces, the more opposition that will come its way, the deeper that its roots grow, and the healthier the tree becomes. You see, oftentimes we're the same way. We want to grow tall and strong, but we don't want to ever go through anything. Yes, my friends, there's going to be times in your life that you're going to go through storms.
There's about a coin flip chance that if I looked into what he's saying about these trees needing wind in order to like grow deep root systems, there's about a coin flip chance that's like flatly not true. But like at the end of the day, even if that were the case, couldn't God have just created trees that grew roots deep and strong, whether there was wind or not? So this is still kind of just dumb, right? Like, why does God do this? Well, it turns out you need the wind to create the deep roots. Well, couldn't God have just programmed the tree to grow deep roots regardless? Couldn't he have just done that? Sure, he could have. Like, God could have just built us all with this great reserve of internal strength. And by the way, there's plenty of human beings. I mean, I'm sorry to fucking contradict not only Nietzsche, but Josh Feuerstein here. There's plenty of human beings who are not made stronger by adversity. Plenty of human beings that go through a bunch of adversity and it just fucks them up and makes them weak. It does not make them strong. We've seen this. We know this.
So let me go ahead and tell you another scam that the elites, the puppet masters that are trying to stay in power, run on the American people. This whole idea that kids are supposed to leave the house at 18. Oh yeah, kids, go find your independence. That's what they like to tell them on MTV and other social channels. But
what? I feel like this was never like an MTV thing for me. For me, this was my parents like just looking forward to the day that I was gone. Just being like, ah, man, one of these days you're going to be 18 and then it's out the door. Now, granted, for me, I didn't leave at 18. It was like, I think I left, once, like it was a couple of failures to launch and stuff. But, I think the time I left home once and for all, I was like 22, 23, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, like, this has been a long-standing sort of thing. This has not been some recent development.
The reality is, all they're wanting to do is create more renters. Yeah, so that they could rent them more property and make more money from it. But it's all a scam.
I mean, I agree that renting houses is a scam. Well, all right, whatever. I mean, that was almost based. That wasn't 100% wrong.
So the next time you climb into your car, I want you to see the two things that are in front of you. One is a rear view mirror. The other is a windshield. You see, one is for looking ahead and one is for looking behind you. But notice that the windshield is a lot bigger.
If I'm going to listen to this kind of motivational pap from somebody, I want it to be from someone who has actually achieved some measure of fucking success in life, okay? Like, I've been listening to an Arnold Schwarzenegger book recently. It's like a motivational book from Arnold Schwarzenegger called Be Useful. I've been listening to that. And the reason why I can listen to it, and some of it does kind of ring like typical motivational pap to me, but the fact is, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger saying it. So it's like this guy was Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia, and then he was an A-list Hollywood actor, highest paid Hollywood actor, and then he was governor of California. And so like I could be like, wow, this guy really has achieved some great successes in life, so I am going to take it seriously from him. So like if Arnold Schwarzenegger was making this exact same analogy, like, you notice the windshield is much bigger than the rearview mirror, and this is because we are not to look back so much, we have to look forward. I would be like, okay, yeah, sure, that rings true because it's Arnold. who has succeeded in life. But this is fucking Josh Fierstein. This is the guy who, like, the biggest claim to fame he's got is he complained about a Starbucks cup, right? So, you know, I don't really feel like I need this motivational speech from him, all right? Kind of useless coming from his ass.
What if I told you that there's a reason that Jesus is buried in a borrowed tomb, unlike Muhammad and all these others that are buried in mosques and mausoleums?
I would say I don't give a shit.
With gold and silver. You want to know why? Because Jesus, much like myself, had Jewish ethnicity, which meant that he was anointed to be good with money. So why in the world is he going to buy?
What? What? Oh no. No. Don't say that.
Heavenly Father, I pray right now for somebody that's struggling with depression. I pray that you would take the black cloud of hopelessness that's hanging over their life, the storm that they seem to be stuck in endlessly. I pray that right now that the Holy Spirit, that the wind.
Man, I can't wait for this. Do you think this, I mean, like, what, do you think this dude will actually get power? Do you think Josh Fierstein will actually find some power? Do you think anyone's going to vote for him? You think he's going to win an election? You think he's going to become a state senator or whatever the hell he's running for and, like, become something? Because I don't know if I hope that doesn't, I know I should hope that doesn't happen. But truth be told, I kind of hope it does, because I kind of love the idea of that being the arc here. That someone who I have made fun of for literally probably the better part of a decade. I mean, it's got to be a decade right now. Like, how early is my first Josh Moronstein video? That has to be like 10 years old by now or more. So someone I've been making fun of for a decade for being like literally the biggest dunce on the internet might actually very soon have real political power. Like, it just sort of perfectly encapsulates the American experience at that point, don't you think? We've seen dumber be elected. I don't know. I think Josh Fierstein might be the dumbest of the dumbs. Like, if our trajectory, especially in the Republican Party, of just dumber and dumber politicians, because like when I was a teenager and Bush was the president, he seemed to me like, man, this is the dumbest fucking guy that has ever been president. I mean, like, we've never had a president this dumb. There's no fucking way we've ever had a president this stupid before. And then a scant few years later, we started seeing Sarah Palin get popular, and she was running for VP, but still, like, Sarah Palin was a freaking idiot. And it was like, wow, she's even dumber than Bush. That's crazy. And she was super popular. She was more popular than McCain was. And it's like, wow, she's a complete freaking moron. She's a complete Nimrod. She has no brain in her head whatsoever. She can't even fake her way through an easy answer in a softball interview. She can't even answer, like, they just ask her, like, what publications do you read? And she's like, all of them. She can't even just, like, say, like, Financial Times, The Economist, Vanity Fair. She can't even just rattle off the names of a few publications, right? So she's that dumb. She can't even lie her way through a very simple, like, what newspapers, what publications, what magazines, what stuff, what do you read? What are you reading on a regular basis? Because the fact is, she's not reading shit. She's parked in front of fucking Fox News like, yeah, the boob tube. Oh, yeah, immigrants. You know? And I thought, well, she's the dumbest. That's the dumbest as it can get. And then Trump comes along, and it's like monosyllabic caveman grunt. I'm the best. I'm awesome. I'm like a really smart person. I can talk the best. I'm good. I'm smart. I understand what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm like the smartest guy. My brain is so big. I'm the smartest in terms of brains. Okay? And it's like, oh my fucking God, it can't get any dumber than this. And at this rate, I'm kind of thinking Josh Fierstein might have presidential potential, because he might be even dumber than fucking Trump. So holy shit. I mean, we might be What if the guy that I spent 10 years making fun of one day is taking the oath of office, you know?